What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC Vegas 34 main and co-main event prediction for the upcoming event taking place August 21st on ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPN Plus. Not the best card on paper, probably one of the weaker cards. Maybe some great fights in there. Obviously, one of those fight cards where you could be sitting through this one kind of bored, maybe if the fights don't go well. But either way, I think the main event's pretty solid. Co-main event's pretty cool. And, there's some fights in there that maybe could get wild or whatever. But overall, yeah, it's definitely not one of those ones that anyone's necessarily been looking forward to. Jared Cannonier and then obviously Kelvin Gastelum in the main event of the evening in the middleweight division, both coming off of a loss against Robert Whitaker. Should be a solid fight. Obviously, I think for Kelvin Gastelum, at least, it's one of those fights where he's one of those guys that he's undersized, but then at the same time, he's able to drop people. He's very quick. He can do certain things, and his grappling's really good. So we'll see where it goes, but Cannonier is definitely going to be one of those guys where it's going to be tough to get through him. But at the same time, he's not necessarily knocking people out at that top level. And both have fought Robert Whitaker. And Gastelum, definitely did some stuff to Whitaker, stayed in the fight. Same thing with Cannonier, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So obviously, I'm going to go ahead, show you guys my other predictions, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the co-main and main event. So for the co-main event of the evening, we have Clay Guida taking on Mark Madsen. And both guys, I guess you could call them both wrestlers. Obviously, for Madsen, he's an Olympic-level Greco-Roman wrestler. And Clay Guida, not necessarily an Olympic-level wrestler, but he's definitely a wrestler. And I think the main thing for Clay Guida in this whole MMA game is he's obviously the veteran in MMA. He's definitely one of those guys where he'll keep going, right? He'll literally get into firefights. He'll keep going. He literally will, after the fight, even if he got his ass beat, start doing push-ups, running around the octagon. He's one of those guys that keep going no matter what. Definitely has some great submission wins. Definitely has some good decision wins. But he can't get knocked out. He would be one of those guys that kind of goes out there and just gets flying kneed. We saw that against Brian Ortega, hit him with a flying knee. Ortega took him out. But he is a grinder, man. Like we saw him against Michael Johnson. He definitely was putting in, he went in there against a guy who maybe be on his way out too, but he was able to get the decision victory there. He lost to Bobby Green, lost to Jim Miller by submission. He beat BJ Penn, which is obviously not one of those things that you're like, wow, man, that's the craziest thing. Lost to Charles Oliveira by submission. So he's not necessarily the best. It's like win, 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 loss, 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 win, 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 loss, whatever. But he's fought everyone, and he stays in there against the best of the division, and he's in the lightweight division. So we'll have to see what happens here. I think for Madsen, he obviously has wrestling, but I don't know if he's going to be able to kind of do that at will here against Guida, because I think Guida's going to be very scrambly. He's going to obviously try to get back to his feet. And then obviously Guida might go for submissions and whatnot, but the pace of Guida is like one of those things. Is like this dude can get taken down, or maybe he gets in a grappling situation, but he'll keep going. And I don't know if Madsen can like consistently deal with this kind of craziness for 3 rounds. It might not be the most exciting fight ever, from Guida. I don't think Guida's gonna be like. Maybe in the latter rounds, he's able to pull something off like a submission if Madsen gets tired. But then Madsen can obviously just go out here and just knock him out, maybe land some big shots. He's not necessarily the best striker. I don't think he's going to be the better striker than Clay Guida. But I do think that if he does land some big shots on Guida, maybe Guida gets hurt and goes on the floor or whatever, then pops up, the ref calls it, and then he pops back up and starts running around the octagon. So it's one of those things where I think if Guida wins, it's definitely going to have to be through 3 rounds. It's going to have to be through just constant pressure, grinding, getting taken down, but then popping back up and kind of just waiting until like the latter round, like the 3rd round, to kind of do something and maybe catch Madsen, if he starts slowing down tremendously, that he able to hit a submission or anything like that. So, but I do think Guida, if he can keep like a high pace and kind of just, like I said, might not be the most exciting fight. Maybe it's more of a point kind of fighting. But if he can stay away from just getting sat on, in the grappling exchanges, maybe creates a lot of scrambles, and then obviously stays away from like the early power from Madsen. I think he might be able to win a decision here. Guida's one of those guys where you kind of count him out. I mean, he's one of those people where, maybe if he was fighting a better striker, I'd be more inclined to kind of just say like Guida's gonna get trashed, or maybe if he's fighting a submission expert. But Clay Guida's cardio is just something that, like, he might not win in the most exciting way, but he pulls off a decision somehow just because the other guy's gassed out. So I'm gonna go Clay Guida on this one. I'm gonna take him to defeat Mark Madsen. I'm gonna take him to win by a decision. And then move on into the main event of the evening, and we have Jared Cannonier taking on Kelvin Gastelum. Now for this fight, obviously you have Jared Cannonier coming off of a loss against Robert Whitaker via decision. This was a 3-round decision. And then for Kelvin Gastelum, he's coming off of a loss against Robert Whitaker in the main event for 5 rounds. So obviously Kelvin Gastelum has been in the game. He's definitely one of those guys who has stayed around and has fought obviously top level competition. He is, though, in his past 5 fights, he has 4 losses. So that's a little concerning here. But, even against Darren Till, it was a split decision. Israel Adesanya, he's fought the champ, and obviously that was a tough fight for Adesanya. So he's definitely been in there, and he's been able to do some things. Because I do think for Kelvin Gastelum, because a lot of people think he's undersized, which he is undersized. But I do think a lot of people kind of just say like he's undersized and like he's gonna lose, and they just allude to that a lot. But he's very crafty. I think he's like one of those guys where you underestimate his power and his speed, and then next thing you know, you're on the floor or something like that. So Kelvin Gastelum is definitely not someone that's gonna get wrecked here. I don't know if he gets absolutely destroyed. I think the biggest thing for Gastelum is maybe take advantage of Cannonier being a little bit too patient, if that's how he fights. Because Cannonier, he's one of those guys where his volume isn't necessarily like the most aggressive kind of volume. He's not coming at you like full speed. He does try to knock people out, but it's not, he's not throwing together like combination after combination after he's not doing that necessarily. It's kind of relying on like a really nasty leg kick or one big, overhand right, versus, throwing together like all these combinations. So, and he does have power. For Gastelum, maybe he tries to get into the clinch a little bit here. Maybe he tries to go for grappling, obviously against our bigger guy like Cannonier. But then again, Gastelum definitely has some good submission skills, so we have to see. I think the best thing for Gastelum here is to try to point fight, close the distance. Definitely try to point fight, try to hit him with some stuff. Maybe like a lot of volume. Maybe hit him with like so maybe just hit him with that left hand over and over again. Go to the body. Just try. He has to do something, right? He has to do something, and he has to be able to outpace Cannonier. Because I think for Gastelum, if he's not able to, if like by the second round, right, he's kind of just getting tagged and he just really can't find his distance, and Cannonier's kind of just on him and just landing big shots, I think he might be able to put away Gastelum. But I do think Gastelum, if he's able to kind of show early on, like, hey, look, I know I'm the smaller guy here, but like that doesn't mean that I'm, just gonna get absolutely knocked out or something like that. I do think Gastelum might be able to kind of create the pace and set a pace as far as the volume's concerned, and kind of have a high output here, because he needs to have a high output, because I don't see Gastelum going in here and just like landing one shot knocking out Cannonier. Whereas Cannonier, I can see him going out here and landing like really big shots and then hurting Gastelum. So for Kelvin Gastelum, he's gonna have to do a lot here. I do think so, because he has to make up for that size advantage, and he has to impose his game onto him. And it might be the grappling. Like, I don't know. Maybe he tries to pull off the submission. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he tries to go for a decision win here. But he definitely has to have the more volume. If Cannonier kind of gets a little bit too into the whole I'm going to knock him out, that would actually probably be good for Gastelum, because then Gastelum can win a decision. I'm not really worried about seeing Gastelum go 5 rounds. I think he's one hell of a fighter. He could definitely take some shots. He's taken a lot of shots as well. I do not see Cannonier like landing a heel hook on him, so I'm not really worried about like the submission game. So yeah, it's one of those fights where I think for Cannonier, he wants to go out there and finish this fight, right? He wants to go out here and knock him out. And then for Kelvin Gastelum, I think he's more willing to win a decision. So it's going to either be Cannonier by like TK or something, and then Gastelum by decision. So I'm going to go Kelvin Gastelum on this one. He's the underdog, obviously, but I do like him here. I do think that, if he can have a higher output, and Cannonier kind of just plodding forward, trying to land one big shot here and there. Maybe he gets a little bit too caught up into that. And then I wouldn't be surprised if we see Gastelum try to look for some sort of grappling game here, maybe. Because I would like to see if he's able to do anything to Cannonier on the ground, if he's able to get him there. And I don't think that happens, obviously, in that first round, but maybe over the course of the 34 or 5 rounds, whatever. So I'm going to go with Kelvin Gastelum. I wouldn't count him out, man. I wouldn't count him out yet. Maybe he gets starched here, but at the same time, I do think he has a little bit more. So I think we're going to see that Gastelum isn't done here. And again, it might not be might not be one of the most exciting performances in the world from either of these guys, especially if it goes to decision. But I'll go get Kelvin Gastelum. I think he can be the more proactive fighter here and have a higher volume and land a more diverse striking game. So I'll go Kelvin Gastelum defeat Jared Cannonier. I'll take him to win by a decision. And that'll do it, guys, for my UFC Vegas 34 main and co-main event prediction. And then all the fights. I think it's going to be a solid card for the co-main event and the main event. But as far as the whole card being solid, probably not. But you never know. You have some of these fighters that just like to go out there and do whatever they can so they can get their name out there. So hopefully that happens. Hopefully have a good card. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. I think I'm going to try to do a little bit more as far as research is concerned, because I just haven't had the time really, right? So like back when I did this for 2 years, 3 years, like every weekend, I was like top to bottom, grinding out research for the card, but I'm just not able to do that right now. So hopefully I can get back into that. But for now, we'll keep doing the co-main event, main event, obviously when I have more opinion on some of the other fighters. But yeah, for now, co-main event, main event. We'll see if we get some good picks going again. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below. Tell me who do you think is going to win. Hit the like button if you want to. Subscribe if you want to. And I'll see you guys in the next video.